Okay, so
Yeah, I think the recording is on.
yeah, it is on. Okay, so I'll start the introduction first. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our 11th webinar of the TAM R&D webinar series. And the topic for today's webinar is what is new in Site Recovery Manager 8.3 and VVOLs integration with SRM. So SRM 8.3 was released in April, and it supports the latest version of Vsphere, that is 7.0. And if you guys don't know, post 8.2 version of SRM, we now also support Photon OS-based appliance for SRM. So you don't need a Windows operating system with SQL DB anymore to install SRM or Site Recovery Manager. So today we have Velina Krasteva, who will be presenting this webinar. Velina is joining us from Bulgaria. She is a senior product manager for SRM and Vsphere application. Velina is also joined by Naveen Krishnamurthy, who is also a senior product manager for VVOLs. So in case if there are any questions around VVOLs, because we are doing a demo of SRM integration with VVOL. So if there are any questions around VVOL, Naveen will be able to help us with that. Just want to inform you that we are recording this webinar, so get in touch with your respective TAMs to get the recording, and also for your colleagues who are interested in this session but who are not able to make it in this call. We will keep everyone on mute by default. So if you have any questions, put that in the Q&A window that you see on your screen. We'll also try and have 10 minutes of Q&A in the end where you can unmute yourselves and ask the question directly to the presenter. So Velina, I think we're good to start and hand it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. Today I will be talking about the Site Recovery Manager and Vsphere Replication 8.3. As this was mentioned, we have released this version together with Vsphere 7, but just wanted to make sure that you know that SRM and Vsphere Replication are compatible with the three major versions of vCenter. These are 6.5, 6.7, and 7.0, including all update releases. So you don't have to upgrade your vCenter infrastructure in order to get to 8.3 SRM and Vsphere Replication. And you can upgrade SRM and Vsphere Replication during a different maintenance window. So I'll start with a brief introduction. Just wanted to highlight that Site Recovery Manager is the industry-leading product for software orchestration of virtual machines and applications across sites. Today we support 4 different types of applications. These are Vsphere Replication, it's a hypervisor-based application per VM that I'm also the product manager for. HCX, which is a migration product at VMware, array-based application. This is a large variety of more than 25 different storage vendors that we support, including Dell EMC, PowerMax, DMX, and Unity, Extreme.io, HP TripWire, Nimble, Primera Storage, and NetApp, Hitachi, IBM storage arrays. Every storage vendor that wants to certify with SRM, they develop their storage application adapters to be able to integrate, and SRM can natively orchestrate the array-based application. The fourth type of replication, which is new for H3, is the VVOL replication. I'll be talking more about this on the subsequent slides so that you can see how the VVOL integration is working. But generally, SRM is orchestrator, provides rich orchestration capabilities for 4 different types of applications. And you can have all of these mixed in one SRM environment together. The only exception is you can't have Vsphere Replication and HCX managed in one SRM instance, because for SRM, this is the underlying technology of both products is Vsphere Replication, and for SRM, confusing to have the 2 instances within one, but you can mix VVOL, array-based, and any of these 2 together. When we talk about unit of orchestration, I just want to highlight how SRM works with these types of replications. For Vsphere Replication and HCX, the unit of orchestration is per virtual machine, because HCX and Vsphere replication work on the virtual machine level. For array-based replication, SRM orchestrates the data stores or the LUNs and RDMs. This means that on the array-based replication, you configure the replication on the storage array, and this can be exposed as iSCSI or Fiber Channel data store or NFS data store, or it's simply like RDM or just a LUN presented. And this is the way all the virtual machines that you put in a single data store will be orchestrated by SRM, but the unit of recovery is on the data store and RDM level. In the VVOL space, we orchestrate the replication groups, and we also support file services, but not vSAN file services, but just native NFS. If you configure NFS server and you want just to store files in it, SRM is able to orchestrate that. So let's see what are the new capabilities in Site Recovery Manager 8.3. There are a number of features. I will be going through all of these one by one, but generally for SRM, the big feature is the VVOLs integration, automatic protection of VMs, different UI enhancements, improvements to the configuration import-export tool, new public APIs and VRO workflows, and new management packs for VROps. And SRM 8.3 is far more secure because now we can claim we are Fips compliant for the appliance. And we also support Vsphere Trust Authority, which is the new encryption method in Vsphere 7. For Vsphere replication, one of the key new features is the seamless disk resizing, which enables automatic resizing of the disk without any interruption of replication, performance improvements, and configuration import-export tool. So now let me walk you through all of these features, and I will start with the big one. The first thing I want to talk today in greater detail is the VVOL replication. I'm very happy to announce that we have made successfully this feature. We at VMware, we saw there is increased number of VVOL adoption throughout the latest years, and we are very happy to see this trend of raising the VVOL awareness within customers. So we have decided to invest and develop in SRM the orchestration of VVOL replication. We have worked with two storage partners, or maybe three, make this feature possible. These are Pure Storage, HP Nimble and Tripar, and also the UMC PowerMax team. Today, we have two of these that have successfully certified with SRM. The successful certification is for Pure Storage and HP Nimble. And we are waiting for HP Tripar and Primera Storage to certify in the next couple of months, and also UMC PowerMax. So these are the key storage partners that enabled us to make this feature. And following these certifications, we also have on the queue other vendors, of course, such as NetApp and Hitachi, and more to follow. But the key is we have been doing a lot of work together with this, and we are able to claim this support today. So how this works from SRM perspective, I will be going into a lot of details in the subsequent slides. Just to pause here, seems like there is an echo. Should I try and switch my headset? Is everyone hearing the echo?
No, Velina, I don't hear echo. How about you, Naveen?
Yeah.
Do you hear echo?
Yeah, I'll just switch with another headset. I hope it's better now.
Yeah,
No, it's coming through fine, Velina. Unless you want to, you have a better one.
Okay. Okay. So now it's better?
Yeah, this is better.
Yeah,
Go
Velina,
ahead, please.
it's better.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so how the support for VVOL works? Site Recovery Manager contacts the vCenter server and storage monitoring service to obtain information from the VASA provider about the VVOL configuration on the storage array. So there is a communication between these components. In SRM itself, we have built natively a VVOL provider. This is SRM technology. And then in order to have the support, what you basically need to do is you have to set up VVOL replication on the storage array. This means you have to configure storage containers and protocol endpoints, and also present these storage containers or VVOL data stores to the ESXi infrastructure. Then from SRM end, you have to install the VASA provider on each SRM server, so both at the protected and in the recovery side. And the VASA provider is developed by the storage vendor. So for Pure, this is Pure VASA provider. They developed the provider. And also from HP perspective as well, there is separate ones for Tripar and Nimble. And then after you create the VVOL configuration on the storage array, you have to set up SPBM policies through vCenter server for the different replication options that you want, or for the different VVOL configuration that you want. This finalizes the initial setup. You can create different policies for VVOL from vCenter server, and the different vendors enable different capabilities. For instance, the Tripar, you can create SPBM policies for different snapshot mechanism on the VVOL, or different frequency of the replication. And after this initial configuration is done, then everything is ready. And here is one of the benefits for VVOL, that after you set up these policies, everything is self-managed from vCenter server. You don't have to ask your storage admin to create the replication on the storage separately or present data stores. Everything is ready for usage. And then how the Srm Discovery Workflow works. We get all the data stores from vCenter server and all the fault domains and storage containers through the storage monitoring service. Then we obtain all the replication groups through SMS again, and then the related virtual machines from vCenter. We do this one by one, and this is a communication that SRM does automatically. Obtains this information from SMS in vCenter. Then SRM requests through SMS that all replication groups in a plan are synchronized. If we do a plant migration, we are going to ask the storage array to prepare the selected replication groups for failover, and we are going to do one more sync to ensure there is zero data loss. This is how SRM plant migration works. We do 2 updates of the replication to make sure that all the new data is transferred to the secondary side. Then we get also the available point-in-time instances. And then we request through the storage monitoring service that the replication groups are failed over to the secondary side and update the VMX files. Then we swap the placeholder VM with the recovered VM. We use, this is a standard technology in SRM. There is nothing changed in comparison to how SRM works. It's just instead of storage replication adapters, there is a VASA provider, and the technology is very granular because we obtain everything from SMS and from the VASA provider, and SRM is able to orchestrate the replication natively. We do have public API support for VVOLs. So these are some of the examples of what we have exposed as public APIs. So there is create protection group public API, there is reconfigure VVOL protection group public API, and you are able to add VMs to VVOL protection groups, run the recovery plan with them, or reconfigure the VVOL protection groups. We also expect PowerCLI team to support these new public APIs in some of the subsequent PowerCLI releases. And we have published VRealize orchestrator workflows for everything that is SRM VVOL related, because we want to enable full automation for this new functionality for customers. So now let's see how all this fits together. How does it work? I have done this demo on pure storage, but as I said, available today also for usage are Nimble and very soon Tripar, Primera, and PowerMax. So let's see how the whole support looks like. This is vCenter server, and we have pre-created the storage policy for VVOL protection with the frequency of 5 minutes. So the replication will be updated every 5 minutes. We do have one storage container or VVOL data store that is in total 8 petabytes. Inside this storage container, we have 2 virtual machines. They are HR application and HR database. So this is pre-created, but as I said, it's very easy to create storage policies. You just go in vCenter client in the storage policy and create the VM storage policy. Before that, you have to create the storage container on the storage, present to ESXi, define protocol endpoints. So all of this is ready now, and this happens outside of SRM. This is standard VVOL configuration. So now let's see how this looks like from SRM perspective, or how the protection in SRM can be done. When you create a new, we are creating a new virtual machine that we are going to call finance. Just let me go back. So we call this finance database, and I wanted to show here how when you create a new virtual machine, it can be associated with a replication group. So let's see how this works. During the new creation of virtual machine wizard, you have to select the data store type for this virtual machine. And here we select the storage policy, which is the VVOL storage policy with 5 minutes RPO frequency. The replication will be updated every 5 minutes. After we select the storage policy, we are selecting the VVOL data store. And the only compatible data store right now with the 5 minutes RPO VVOL storage policy is the pure VVOL. And this is the moment that you choose to which replication group a virtual machine should be associated to. As I have mentioned before, we have 2 replication groups. One is the finance and the other one is the HR replication group. And here in the screen of replication group selection, you see this finance and HR replication group. There is a third type that is called automatic replication group. This is not very frequently used by customers. Usually customers choose to select automatic replication group when there is no replication group on the storage that matches their expectations. In our case, we have pre-created this, and we are just going to select the finance. What happens when automatic replication group is selected is basically the VVOL, the VAS provider and the VVOL configuration will try to select one of the replication group that best matches this storage policy for the frequency of 5 minutes. If none of the existing replication group matches these requirements, then a new replication group will be created. But in our case, we have everything pre-created and we choose the finance replication group. So now we have the virtual machine associated with the storage policy. Let's see how this looks like on the VM itself. On the summary page, you can see in the summary page of the virtual machine that it is associated with VVOL storage policy for 5 minutes, and it is part of VM replication group for finance that is pre-created on the pure storage array. So there are 2 ways to associate the virtual machine to storage policy for replication, for specific replication groups. This happens during the creation of the virtual machine, that you can specify to which replication group you want the VM to belong to and to which storage policy. Or if the virtual machine is already existing, you can just edit the virtual machine storage policy settings. I will show this later. But all of this configuration is outside of SRM. It's just VVOL specific, very easy to be configured. So now we are going to go to Site Recovery Manager and create the protection. In Site Recovery Manager, you have to create protection groups and recovery plans. This is the way that SRM works. There are 2 levels of protections. First, you need to associate the VMs or ones or replication groups with protection group and then with the recovery plan. So now let's create the protection group with the standard wizard. So now we are going to create the finance and HR replication group. I want to put all the virtual machines together to show you how you can put all the VMs in one protection group if you want to, but you can also create separate protection groups if you need. On the first screen, you choose the name of the protection group. In our case, this is finance and HR protection group. And then you choose the direction of protection. In our case, we want to protect from SRM Boston to Las Vegas. This defines how you have set up the replication on the storage. In our case, we have set up the replication, the source to be Boston, the destination to be Las Vegas. This doesn't have any change comparison to how SRM worked before. It's the same wizard and the same first screen. So now on the second screen, we see there is a new virtual volume type for the protection group, and we are selecting it. And then we are going to see all the fault domains printed here, available for this storage configuration. In our case, this is one fault domain. Every storage vendor defines fault domains differently. For the different storage vendors, a fault domain can mean different units. But in general, SRM doesn't make any choices. We obtain all of this information from the VASA provider. So during this screen, we have already made the query to the SMS and to the VASA provider, and we have found out that there is one fault domain on the pure with this direction of replication, and you have to select this one. On the next screen, we see the 2 replication groups that can be protected. A good thing on this screen is that you can see the virtual machines inside each replication group. In the finance protection group, in the finance replication group, there is the finance DB virtual machine. In the HR replication group, we have 2 virtual machines. So the unit of protection is replication groups. You can select all of these together or separately if you want. In our case, we want to protect everything together. We're just selecting this and finalizing, adding the protection group to the recovery plan to be ready for failover. So this is how easy it is to create protection in SRM, and we have the 3 virtual machines here already defined. So now let's see what automatic protection means. Automatic protection is another new feature that I'll be talking more about on the next slides. But basically, just to brief, in the VVOL use case, automatic protection means that now we have a fourth virtual machine that is finance application. And this virtual machine doesn't belong to any storage policy for VVOL replication. And we are going to change that. We are going to associate the finance application virtual machine to the finance replication group to be replicated every 5 minutes. And when we change this storage policy for the virtual machine, just because the finance replication group is already part of SRM protection, the VM will be automatically protected. So this is the new way that SRM works. Automatic protection means for all existing replication groups that are under SRM protection, when you add new VMs to these replication groups, they will be auto-protected without any configuration in SRM. So now let's see how this looks like. And we go on the finance application VM. We see there is no storage policy and no replication group. So now let's associate it. This happens with right-click, VM policies, edit, VM settings. Here on the screen, we are going to associate it with the VVOL storage policy for 5 minutes. And then another thing you have to do is you have to configure replication groups. We see there is the hard disk 1 and VM home. So most likely this will be 2 VVOLs actually on the array. So now let's configure the specific replication group. We are adding this to finance replication group. And we see the policy is changed now in the user interface to 5 minutes. And now from SRM perspective, this is how the protection looked like before. We used to have only 3 virtual machines. And now when you refresh the recovery plan on the protection group screen, you will see that there is, sorry, let me go there. So now when you refresh the user interface, we will see that there is the 4th virtual machine added to protection. So this is how automatic protection works. And how to run the recovery plan. Let's see, actually fail over these virtual machines to the secondary side. We now have 4 different virtual machines, and in the recovery plan you can define priorities and dependencies. This is standard SRM configuration. So we are now making the HR, the database and finance database virtual machine as priority 2. So they will start before the finance application and HR application virtual machines. And we are going to run the test failover and see the virtual machines on the secondary side, and then clean up. These are standard SRM options. So when you run the SRM recovery plans, there is no change. Everything happens to the way you are used to. Plant migration, test failover, disaster recovery. This is a plant migration that we have run and successfully moved the virtual machines to the secondary side. When you check the report, you can see all the steps that SRM did and whether they are successful or not. So now everything is, this is now on the secondary side. In Las Vegas, we see the 4 virtual machines are there. They are up and running and the recovery is successful. Okay, so this enables the SRM VVOL protection. And now I would like to speak more about the rest of the features and give room at the end at least 10 minutes for questions. So now let me proceed with the next set of features. We talked about automatic protection of virtual machines for VVOLs, but now let me go further. What does it mean for array-based replication? This feature is specific to array-based replication and VVOL. It doesn't relate to Vsphere replication because for Vsphere replication, the unit of recovery is virtual machine and there is no automatic protection there. So for array-based replication, it's the same logic. If you have a data store or one that is already protected in SRM and replicated by the storage, if you create a new virtual machine on the data store, then the VM will be automatically added to SRM protection group without any user interaction. This also is valid for vMotion use case, but only for the case when the two data stores are part of the same protection group. If you vMotion a VM from one data store to another, it will be automatically protected if the two data stores are part of the same protection group. What is missing in this protection, and we are working to enable in the future, is automatic unprotection. And automatic unprotection will be covering the use case when you delete the virtual machine in vCenter, and SRM is going to pick up this change and remove it from SRM protection. But because automatic unprotection is not ready in the product, you can't vMotion from two data stores that are part of different protection groups, because for SRM logic, this will mean you have to unprotect the VM, SRM has to unprotect the VM from one protection group and protect it in another. And because unprotection is not ready yet, we are not able to do that. So automatic protection for now covers new VM that is created in the data store, or vMotion between two data stores in the same protection groups. In the future, we are going to cover unprotection and vMotion between two different data stores. Automated disk resizing is another feature that is specifically for Vsphere replication. This is about when you want to resize the primary disk, and Vsphere replication is going to pick up the change. If the primary disk is 50 gigabytes, if you resize the disk from the vCenter server itself to, let's say, 100 gigabytes, Vsphere replication is going to pick up this change and automatically resize the replica disk without any interruption of the replication. This is huge improvement comparison to how the product works today, because today you have to actually break the replication, resize the primary disk, then log in on the destination, run some commands on the ESX CLI to resize the destination replica disk, and then re-enable replication. This is very manual process, so this is no longer applicable in the future. The feature works with Vsphere 7 at the source, but the target can be 6.5 or higher, and this is really big achievement from our development team. I hope you're going to like the feature. You don't have to configure anything, it just works. So you just resize the primary disk via Vsphere replication, resizes the destination for you without breaking ongoing operation. We did a lot of improvements into the user interface of SRM and Vsphere replication. The user interface is HTML5. You are going to be able to export all the data grids to Excel and CSV. This will help further with reporting. So if you want to do a report about the protection groups, recovery plans, you can now export this into CSV and Excel. You can also add show and hide columns, and we added add remove data store sections to the protection group view. We continue to enhance the user interface, but if there is any feedback, I would like to hear it. So please paste your comments in the chat section. We also did introduce a new Vsphere replication configuration import export tool. This is a great way to make a backup of your entire Vsphere replication configuration. The feature is available currently only as CLI, but in the future we are going to build it in the user interface as well, the same way we did for SRM. So how this works, you have to configure an export or run the export in the CLI following the official documentation on the Vsphere replication administration documentation page. And this will export the entire configuration in an XML file. This will include all the virtual machines, replication settings, including what RPO you have selected, whether you have configured encryption, compression, OS quiescing or not. And this can be used in case something happens to Vsphere replication appliance. You can easily install a new Vsphere replication appliance and import this XML file, again following the steps in the CLI. And then this will restore all your active replications, including the seeded replications, and you don't have to configure everything from scratch. We do have very big customers that are leveraging Vsphere replication to the maximums. Let's say 1,000 replications, or we have also one that is 2,000 or reaching the maximum. So for these types of customers, this is very appreciated because if something happens during upgrade, let's say they don't have to reconfigure 2,000 replications from scratch manually, but everything is very easily configured when you import the configuration. We did a lot of improvements into the user interface of VR as well. So the first thing is when you see the virtual machines, in the virtual machine, in the replication section of the UI, you can see to which protection group this virtual machine is associated with. So this is one of the new things. And then there is new information in the replication settings for the particular VM, such as lag time, and this is a new metric we have enabled. And most importantly, the replica disk usage. For first time, we have introduced ability to show how much storage space is used for the replica disk, and this will give you a very good idea in order to make capacity planning. And another thing is we added the warning in the SSL certificate is due to expire. From performance perspective, we are very focusing to improve the performance of VR. So in this release, we introduced better initial synchronization of the application and some enhancements to the steady state throughput. And then we are also planning to release a patch release. This will happen in September and will be version 8.3 update 1. In this update release, we are going to enable some more performance optimizations. So stay tuned for the enhancement in September as well. Regarding site recovery manager import export tool, the good new thing about this is that now it can be run as part of the recovery plan. You will see an option in the user interface if you want to export the SRM configuration as part of the workflow. Today, this feature is also made available in the user interface, but now not just in the usual place where it is the summary page of SRM. You can also export it as part of the recovery plan. We also published example cron job for running the SRM, for running the tool on the SRM appliance. This will help you scheduling or automating the import and the export of the configuration. So if you follow the steps, this is actually made available on the SRM administration documentation. You can set up this cron job and schedule the export on to run on your SRM appliance every day in a specific time frame, and this will greatly help you for automation and just have the file preserved every day. The file is very small, so it's not going to consume a lot of space, and this can be your safe way of making sure you have SRM configuration. With every release, we publish new public APIs. So this is a huge number of public APIs for Site Recovery Manager and VRO workflows. I wanted to show you everything on the page so that you're aware of the level of automation. The public API is based on SOAP. For Vsphere replication, we have only VRO workflows. So for VR, you have to use VRO in order to take advantage of this automation. And now in the new release, the new APIs for SRM are Configure IP customization rules, the support for VVOLs, and Site Recovery Manager appliance public APIs. So you're able to automate everything in the appliance in relation to if you want to download the support bundle, or if you want to start and stop SRM services, if you want to configure syslog, everything that is in the SRM appliance management page, you can automate it with public APIs, configuring the IP address of the SRM, the DNS server. For Vsphere replication, there are a number of VRO workflows, but mainly reconfigure pairing of the replication, reconfigure replication to specify disk type and storage policy, and log into the remote site. In the update release that we are planning in September, we are also planning to enable new VRO workflows for VR, including ability to specify different target data store for every disk. So make sure to check the release notes when we publish the update release. With every release, we publish new management pack for VROps. Today, there is one for SRM and Vsphere replication separately. They are free of charge. You can install these as part of advanced and enterprise editions of VROps. So I highly recommend that you take advantage of this because there are a lot of metrics you can use to monitor SRM and Vsphere replication. And in this release, we did for SRM a new dashboard that will list all the VMs associated with protection groups and show unconfigured VMs that are part of a protection group. For VR, the new enhancements are top 10 VMs with RPO violations, dashboard, and display replication lag time. But these are just small enhancements in this release. If you check all the capabilities, there is a lot more that you can do. I have also published a blog post about VROps, SRM functionality, and VR. There is a very good demo that you can check on the blogs.vmware.com. For Vsphere application, just wanted to mention a big enhancement is the display on the vSAN perspective, from vSAN and vCenter perspective about the replica disk usage. Previously, you were not able to see how much space is used on the cluster usage for Vsphere replication. So now you can see this in vCenter, and also this helps for capacity planning as well. From VR point of view, in the user interface, you can also see the replica disk usage, but on vCenter and vSAN as well. Now, as I mentioned, we are Fips compliant, both SRM and VR, but there are specific steps to enable Fips mode if you need to claim compliance. This is valid for SRM appliance only, not for the Windows version. So you have to follow the KB article that we have published about how to enable Fips on the SRM appliance. Let me summarize what are the enhancements. So as I mentioned, VVOL integration, automatic protection of VMs, UI enhancements and VRO workflows and VROps, compatibility with Vsphere Trust Authority and much more secure release with Fips compliance, seamless disk resizing, performance improvements for VR, Vsphere replication configuration, import export tool, and UI enhancements, VRO and VROps. There are several ways to get your hands on SRM. We do have hands-on lab that is available for version 8.2, and it's getting updated for version 8.3. The 8.3 version will be published on VMworld in September and will be available for customers as well in the end of September. You can also download the 60-day evaluation license and try the product for free. And there are plenty of resources on Storage Hub that you can leverage. So I would like to pause here and leave the remaining 8 minutes for questions. Let me see some of the questions also on the chat section.
Yeah, so we have a question on the Q&A window. Can we upgrade SRM and Vsphere replication using Vsphere LCM we have in 7.0? And if not today, do we have any plans to bring that capability in LCM? Felina, can you hear me?
Yes, can you repeat? Can we upgrade SRM and Vsphere replication appliances?
Using Vsphere Lifecycle Manager. And if today we don't have that capability, do we plan to bring that capability under Lifecycle Manager, which is there in 7.0?
So you can't upgrade using the Lifecycle Manager. The process to upgrade the appliances is outlined in the documentation. It's the standard way you have to follow the SRM guidance. In the future, yes, we are exploring how to integrate with Lifecycle Manager, but we are first going to do this for the VCF use case. So we want to include SRM in the VCF stack to become part of SDDC Manager, and during this integration with VCF, SRM and VR will be automatically installed, and then the upgrades will also be taken care. So after we do the implementation with VCF, we can think about the broader usage and how to integrate with Lifecycle Manager, but this is too far away right now on the roadmap. It's not happening in the next year.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, does the SRM management pack show how much time does it take to reprotect the VM? After upgrading to 8.x, we have seen slowness during the reprotect operation.
No, the SRM management pack is for monitoring. It doesn't give any proactive data or any planning like that. If you are seeing slowness with Vsphere replication and reprotect operation, just want to highlight that we are working on that because we know reprotect is slow with Vsphere replication. This is because Vsphere replication is doing all the checksumming process, and we are planning to enable this optimization in the future, hopefully within the next 6 months. So it's not going to be available in the September release, but later. But I will be showing a demo of optimized reprotect operation on VMworld. So after VMworld, we can do a second session to show you demos of the future features that we are working on.
Sure, Vilna. That will be really helpful because we have got this feedback from customers that the reprotect operation is very slow since this application does a checksum on all the blocks during reprotect.
Yes.
The third question is.
I have a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead. Vilna.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I have a lot of customers from. complaining from that yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What are the prerequisites for VVOL replication configuration?
Okay, so the prerequisites for VVOL replication are that you have to set up your VVOL infrastructure on the array. This means you have to create storage containers. This is the VVOL data store. You have to create protocol endpoints. You have to present the storage container to ESXi. And you have to create the SPBM policies for VVOL protection, and then associate virtual machines with these storage policies. On the demo, we have shown part of this configuration, but only focused on associating the VM with the storage policy. So after you complete all of this, you have to install VASA provider on the SRM appliance, and then you can create protection groups and recovery plans the way we did in the demo. It shouldn't be very difficult. Actually, the logic is the same with array-based, because on the array-based replication, you have to create replication on the array the same way. You have to create data stores. You have to map these data stores to ESXi. The only difference with VVOL is that the part of this configuration on the storage, you also have to create SPBM policies for the protection.
Okay. So the next question is, where can I find any script module or script to automate the SRM report in PowerShell? I tried to search in VMware KB, but nothing much for reporting, like the status of VMs which are enabled in SRM and having any RPO issues.
So there are SRM Power CLI commandlets that are published, and you have to go on code.vmware.com and download these commandlets. Basically, we do plan to implement more in the future, but right now you can protect VMs, execute recovery plans, everything that is part of the current PowerShell of the current public APIs. So you can download some of these samples from this site and take advantage. But you have to consider that in order to use the new public APIs that are introduced with version 8.3, you have to have version 8.3 of SRM and download the latest Power CLI commandlets as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Is the VR configuration export manual process or it can be scheduled? I think you showed that it can be scheduled, right?
Yeah, so right now we published KB about SRM, how to create the cron job for the SRM configuration to be exported. For Vsphere replication, it is right now manual, so you have to manually do that. We plan to publish another cron job page or how to automate this, but it's not available yet. I hope to be available in the next couple of months. So for VR, it's still manual. Yeah.
Okay. In case of VVOL, how replication will be controlled at a granular level? I have Hitachi storage which supports VVOL, like split, resync, etc. operations.
Yeah, so Hitachi are still not certified with the SRM protection. So it's not possible to protect SRM on Hitachi. You have to check for compatibility, you know, on this page. That's the SRA, but there is a separate one for VVOL. So once, right now with version 8.3, we have 3 vendors, Nimble, Pure, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. This is for HP's Nimble and Pure. After Hitachi gets successful certification to work with SRM, they are going to appear on this page. And then you can protect the virtual machines the way we have shown on the demo. So basically, if you want granular recovery, if you want to protect a single VM, then you have to put only one VM in a replication group, and you can create this granularity and recover only one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can we configure SMTP on SRM 8.3? It's like she got disconnected. So, Naveen, can you answer this question? So this question is from Hitesh. He's saying per VM, if there are 3 VVOLs, then do I have to create 3 data stores per VM at the ASXI level?
No, that would not be required. I mean, the demo covered that. I mean, as Velina was mentioning, depending on the granularity that you select, it could be as to however it is mapped to a VM.
Okay, so if there are 3 VVOLs, then we don't need 3 data stores per VM at the
Correct.
ASXI level. Okay. And would you be able to answer this? Can SMTP be configured on SRM 8.3? It's not specific.
Yeah, that I'm not sure. That we have to wait for Velina. Sorry.
So let's wait for one more minute.
I think we are beyond time anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll send this question to Velina directly and ask the answer. So I think we are good now. Thank you, Naveen, for accepting the invite. Thank you all for joining this webinar. Do get in touch with your TAMs to get the recording. I think Mitesh again has a question. Then only one data store and three walls inside it. Yeah, so that is correct.
Yeah, so actually there is no concept of data store when it comes to VVOLs, right? Because VVOL is a granular storage. It's a VM granular storage. So unlike the traditional VMFS storage, you don't have to create a data store and then map VMDKs on it. VVOL is it's a different storage model. So let's not associate data store with VVOLs because they don't, as a concept, and they don't go together.
And how is it seen at the SXI level?
As a storage object. I mean, yeah, we can find Nitin. I think we can send more information for this particular case on VVOLs itself, so that they can take a look at.
Yeah. So there's one question that can we expect a PPT? So yes, we are recording this webinar, so we will send both recording as well as PDF version of this presentation to your TAMs. So get in touch with your TAMs to get the recording as well as the presentation. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Nitin.